how are y'all today? It's so good to see you again. Well, I'm Silly Sally today. We're going to read an awesome story with a lot of action words. I'm going to show you the action words that are in the story. Are you ready? Let's look at them and we'll say them. Say them after me. Look at the first one. We have walking. How about stand up and why don't you walk around your house for a minute? Walking. And then dancing. La, 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 la. Dance, dance, dance. And then leaping. Woo! Leaping. Leap. Good. Singing. La, la, la. Sleeping. And then tickling. Tickle your mama. Okay, so these are action words. They show action, movement. Sometimes an action word does not have to show movement. If I'm just going to sit on the couch right here, I'm sitting, and sitting is an action word. I'm not moving. I'm sitting still listening. Okay, are you ready to read the story? Do you wonder why I'm wearing this red wig? Did you notice the character today? The character in the story is Silly Sally. So I am trying to dress up and be Silly Sally. And Silly Sally goes to town walking backwards, upside down. Isn't that fascinating? Are you ready to read the story? Let's go. Here we go. I'll move you a little closer. See if you can see it. Silly Sally by Audrey Wood. That's the author who wrote the story. And look right here. We have the title page. Silly Sally by Audrey Wood. Look at Silly Sally. Silly Sally went to town walking backwards upside down. Look at that. And you're going to notice that there are some characters that she's going to run into as she goes to town. Let's look at the first one. On the way, she met a pig, a silly pig. They danced a jig. So we have rhyming words here as well. Say pig, jig. Good job. Keep going. So she met the pig first. Silly Sally went to town dancing backwards upside down. So she's dancing along and ooh, I see something in there. Let's scoot it over just a tad. On the way, she met a dog, a silly dog. They played leapfrog. Say dog, leapfrog. Good. Silly Sally went to town leaping backwards upside down. Now she's leaping. Remember, we were leaping earlier. That's our action word, or we can call it a verb. Ready? On the way, she met a loon, a silly loon. They sang a tune. Say loon, tune. Silly Sally went to town singing backwards upside down. On the way, she met a sheep, a silly sheep. They fell asleep. Say sheep asleep. Good. Now, how did Sally get to town sleeping backwards upside down? Look at that. They're sleeping backwards. But I noticed someone in the background. along came Nettie Buttercup, walking forwards, right side up. Let's see what he has to do with them. What is he going to do? Is he going to wake them up? He tickled the pig, tickle, 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 who danced a jig. He tickled the dog, who played leapfrog. So they all woke up after being tickled. He tickled the loon, who sang a tune. He tickled the sheep, who fell asleep. So now they're all becoming awake. He's waking them up. He tickled Sally, who woke right up. She tickled Nettie Buttercup. And that's how Sally got to town, walking backwards upside down. Wasn't that an awesome story? I just loved it. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the characters in our story, and then we're going to retell the story. So we're moving this to the side. The first one that we had in there was Silly Sally walking to town, walking backwards upside down. And when she did, she ran into a pig, a silly pig, who danced a jig. They both went walking backwards upside down, and they met who? They met a dog, and the dog liked to play leapfrog. So now they're leaping backwards upside down, and they met a loon, a silly loon, who sang a tune. So now they're singing. All of them now are going along singing backwards upside down. And they met a sheep, and the sheep fell asleep. So now they're all sleeping backwards upside down. And along came Nettie Buttercup. And what did he do? He went first over here and tickled, tickled, tickled the pig, who danced the jig. He tickled, tickled, tickled the dog, who woke right up, but he liked to play leapfrog. Tickled, tickled, tickled the loon, who sang a tune. And tickled, tickled, tickled the sheep, who was asleep. And then he went and tickled, tickled, tickled Silly Sally, who woke right up. And then they all went where? To town. That's how they got to town, walking backwards upside down. Well, remember, you sent in a picture of yourself, and Miss Bourgeois made a story. So this is our class book that I was telling you about. It's Kindergartners Went to Town, Walking Backwards Upside Down. Let's see who's in here. Well, who do we have there? That's Karen. It says, Silly Karen went to town singing backwards upside down. The next one is Ming Yu. Silly Ming Yu went to town sliding backwards upside down. There's Ivana. Silly Ivana went to town skipping backwards upside down. This next one is Stephen. Let me see, Stephen. Silly Stephen went to town bouncing backwards upside down. Joshua, look at Joshua. Silly Joshua went to town leaping backwards upside down. And now we have Evan. Look at Evan. Silly Evan went to town, hopping backwards upside down. And there's Allison. Silly Allison went to town, jumping backwards upside down. Look who that is. Look at Miss Maria. Silly Mrs. Maria went to town, running backwards upside down. And there's Marbella. Hi, Marbella. Look at that. Silly Marbella went to town, laughing backwards upside down. Oh, and there's Heidi. Look at Heidi. Silly Heidi went to town, dancing backwards upside down. Mustafa. Silly Mustafa went to town, wiggling backwards upside down. Silly Minghao went to town, smiling backwards upside down. There's Keechan. Silly Keechan went to town, swimming backwards upside down. And Dylan. Silly Dylan went to town, giggling backwards upside down. There's David. Silly David went to town, waving backwards upside down. And Valeria. Silly Valeria went to town, reading backwards upside down. And there's Eric. Silly Eric went to town, shouting backwards upside down. And Tanya. Silly Tanya went to town, looking backwards upside down. And Leon. Silly Leon went to town, stepping backwards upside down. Oh, and who's last? Mrs. Bourgeois. Silly Mrs. Bourgeois went to town, kicking backwards upside down. Well, I hope you enjoyed this story. That's our class book that we made. I wish we were still in class so we actually could have made it. And you could have decorated your paper instead of Miss Bourgeois making a photo and not having you actually interact in it. Well, that's the end of our story. It was so wonderful to see you and to make sure that you're reading with me. Okay? I love every one of you. I will see you later. Bye. Bye.